It's Wednesday, let's chat. And today we're talking about the future of dining. We are slowly opening things up. The restrictions are being lifted slightly. What it has shown in the past months of this year is that human ingenuity born out of innovation and desperation has seen new concepts rise in the restaurants and dining scenes. You've got food delivery, you've got cloud kitchens, you've got people cooking at home. At the same time, you see people out there who are breaking the laws and being fined as a result. So it's a whole mixed bag of things that's taking place. And today we've got two giants in their own right of the entertainment and dining scene. We've got Benny Sitio, who's an entrepreneur and a restaurateur. He's a self-taught chef who has worked hard to establish his reputation in the restaurant business. He's a co-owner of 14 restaurants. It has become a household name with his 18 chefs and the awards he's won and his colorful life. Welcome, Benny. And
thanks for having me.
And we've got Peter Knipp, her name synonymous with the World Gourmet Summit, with the early days of the Raffles Hotel here. World Gourmet Summit has established Singapore as a food destination on the global map, and he's taken it to other parts of the world as well. But beyond organizing events like that, he has his own food consultancy, Peter Knipp Holdings. Welcome, Peter. Welcome to the both of you. And I think given the circumstances, given what's happening, it would be good to ask your views on what you think has been a major shake-up for you in the food industry. Peter, perhaps we'll start off with you.
First of all, I'm really happy to do this session with Benny. I have followed him not just through his Facebook and his often very inspiring, funny posts that make my day. Benny, a lot of respect to you as a self-taught fast chef. If you know Raymond Blanc, two Michelin chef from the UK, is my personal friend. He's also a self-taught chef who has brought it very far. And I often draw comparison, even so different communities and different backgrounds, but you have accomplished a lot. So I have a lot of respect for what you have accomplished. And I think you've done really, really well. You said you're a model for many young people and for many that look for excuses, oh, I can't do it, oh no, this is not good enough. I always draw on people like yourself because the future of dining belongs to the people that honestly are in it with their heart, with their mind, with their passion. I drew up a couple of numbers. We've lost about what I'm looking here, and I'm running on 2 computers. We lost about close to 80 restaurants. Some of them are big names. Some of them are, I guess, average at best. When I look, before we look into the future, let's look in the past. Every recession that we had, whether it was an IT bubble, or that was a financial recession, every recession has taught us one thing. And a couple of good things come out of it. Number one of the main problems in F&B, manpower. Your turnover slows almost to a halt. People are not jumping for $50 or $100 from one month to the next to another place. You have a lot more stability. And to the restaurant owners or company owners, that's a great opportunity to instill something to their employees, their staff, so that they have a longer lifespan out of them. Especially in something that takes so much knowledge to perform at its best. So the good restaurants, the really good ones, will almost always survive unless their business model has never been good in the first place. The mid-level restaurant, the average, the family restaurants, they are likely to slide. They lower their prices, the service component is going down, so they go to the lower part. And the bottom feeders, the wannabes, they think they can do it, they are the ones to drop by the baseline. And honestly, we do need this. from time to time. Because Singapore is so spoiled. Singapore has so much choices. We have too many restaurants, too many people fighting. And I think Benny and Kanan, you both know, with 5.5 million people living here, we have 5.5 million experts. And when I see how much money is wasted and thrown at the Papa, for example, that I met, he's 65, he's retired, the son just finished one of the culinary schools. Oh, Papa, I want to open a restaurant. Okay, son, here you have $500,000. 6 months later, restaurant is closed. You know, I mean, why waste that money? Where is the effort of the people to actually build a career before they spread out and think of what they want to do in the future? One of our dear friends, KFCito, you know, he was always bitching about the foreigners and what have you. One day he put a post on Facebook, you can read it up. He hired a local guy, brought him in on Monday, Tuesday morning he resigned. First he said, oh, I want to be working for you. You know, this is a dream job. I really want to do it. Then the day after, wow, so much work. Yeah, what do you expect? You go to the kitchen, you could get, if you don't like the fire, don't go to the kitchen because it is hard work. Benny, I'm sure you know it. Kanan, I see you cooking at home. You gave me hell once because I buy curry paste instead of doing my curry myself. If you want to do it right, you know, it's hard work. But when you're successful, if you're doing it well, the amount of satisfaction you will not get sit in an office. You will not get just because you have a cushy job. It is hard work, but the high level of recognition and satisfaction and happiness as a good chef, as a good cook, as somebody that provides food, as you make other people happy. Singapore is very lucky. We have some great restaurants. We are very unlucky. We have a lot of bad service. We have a lot of TV shows, famous chef, master chef this, young chef that. But what about the service component? Last Sunday, I was in a place, I had 2 or 3 young dodos running around, and I don't blame them, but the manager is running after them, doing all the work, and they don't know what they're doing. So you pay big bucks for a meal or a plate or for a coffee, but you don't get the service element. So if you have a great chef who cooks from morning to night, you also need to have a great delivery. The future of dining, I honestly think Singapore will always be a highlight. Some people open restaurants now, and God bless them, they have foresight. Many are closing. But you cannot take Singapore out of the Singaporean. There have always been foodies. There will always be foodies. They may not all know their food, and especially their own local food. They have an opinion, but not the knowledge. But at the end of the day, Singapore is a food-obsessed country. The future, it will come back. Maybe not on the same level, maybe with many, many changes, with cloud kitchens. If anything has taught us in the past 6 months, and I hope a lot of people have done this, stay home, think, rethink. Finally, we are reaching into the world of digitalization. All these old quotes, all these older people that didn't dare to. Look at China. The 70, 80-year-old person goes with their mobile phone and they go to a hawker and they pay like this. Here you need a bloody crisis to teach us how to do that. You know, so there's good things behind all that. People have rethought, and if they were smart, they have adapted their business, because eventually 6, 12, 18, 24 months from now, things will starting to get more normalized.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Vera. Very good overview of everything as you see it. Benny, as somebody in the kitchen, what's your view on this?
I think Peter has summarized the whole session already.
But doesn't mean you get away with that.
Yes. During this pandemic, I think most of the restaurants, including ourselves, really we get panic, you know, especially during the lockdown. You know, I have more than 10 restaurants in Singapore. For my case, I can't even go up to my restaurant because each restaurant you have limits of 5 workers stationed there, and it's all recorded to be submitted to the authorities. So every morning I will be driving my car and do delivery, waiting downstairs. I can't even go into my restaurants. And then, thank God, on the 19th of June, you know, we started to live up that ban, and then business are coming back. You know, during the first couple of weeks, it was really, very, every day is crowded. Of course, right now the restriction of social distancing quite hindering our business flow. So our managers got to work doubly hard. They need to get the sales every day, and then they also need to manage the crowd. You know, there's a lot of work to be done in this area. So far, in my observation, whatever I say, it doesn't represent my company. That's what my observation. I think as long as we are wearing this mask, we're going to have a bit of a problem talking about going into the near future about our dining, unless this is taken off, and then we might resume back to the business during the pre-COVID days. And for myself, I experience I have restaurants spread around Singapore. If your restaurant is situated in the heartland, where your customer are the heartlander, HDB, or some condominiums around, businesses are not so really affected. You know, in the first 2 weeks of the opening of the phase 2, business was actually better than pre-COVID. During that 2-3 weeks, you know, everybody is rushing out, you know, to dine out. You know, I've confirmed it with a very, I would say, quite a very famous hawker. He told me quietly, yeah, man. He said, I also, it's a husband and wife team. And then they said the business is much better than the pre-COVID. You know, I think for myself also, I will be very happy to just have a kopio and a roti prata in a coffee shop and just sip my coffee. So, but some of my restaurants are situated near the office area. So my target audience, at least 60-70% are catering to the office worker. I think that one we are still very highly heated because most of the office workers are working from home. Even my wife, working in LTA, she's working all this while is working at home.
I think working from home is going to be around for a while. So would you seriously look at what you want to keep open and what you may want to shut to rationalize your business?
We still continue to run a business. I think a few days ago on the 20th of September, the government is opening up for people that work from home to go back to the office. You know, when I was looking at the numbers, it's still the same. It's still the same. Maybe still looking up to the 3rd of October when phase 3 is kicking in. And then maybe I will see that kind of improvement. I think now, if you are a restaurateur of many restaurants, you really feel the hits. If you're one restaurant with 10-20 head counts, I think it's easier to manage. For me, I think I got 200-300 full-time, part-time employees in our organization. I would say that we are very fortunate that we have not retrenched a single person.
Can I say something? You just brought something important up. People were forced to work home for 2 months.
Yes.
And then the next phase kicked in, whereby it was like half and half. Now we are waiting for phase 3. I think if this pandemic has taught us anything, and I think for Singapore especially, we know that all companies are paying generally high rents. And I know of a number of companies which have learned through this pandemic And that includes me, because I'm very old-fashioned. You know, I have to go to the office, I have to meet the people, I have to get everybody together. And it has taught me and many others, hey, they don't all have to come to the office. You know, our generation more. Maybe the younger generation, they're a lot more flexible, right? But in our generation, I said, okay, the writer doesn't have to be in the office. As long as we meet once or twice a week and we have this, and immediately what is the thought? Oh, I don't need so much office space. Let's look for something smaller and cut down on overheads. And I rather pay my team a bit more and don't pay so much rents, because rents are ridiculous in Singapore. And what my experience has been, a lot of the landlords, owners, they are not easily giving a reduction or what have you. Because what I've learned is the guy buys a warehouse on office space for $1.5 million. He has to pay a mortgage. Suddenly the pandemic comes in and I go and say, hey, can you please lower our rent by 1,500? So he may be willing to, but he can't, because he still has a mortgage to pay, and especially if he's a serial investor. So in Singapore, we have this very, very unique situation. You want to look after your people. Like you said, you haven't retrenched anybody. I had to let 3 people go, and I did it right in the beginning, 1 foreigner and 2 locals. But I let the young ones go because it's easier for them to find a job. I had no choice, because my revenue dropped by 80% on the advertising side. You know, so we still have to look after the many and may sacrifice a few. But I mean, I'm very happy to hear that you haven't let anybody go. But ultimately, if you talk about CBT, where your business depends on the office environment, we will see quite a bit of changes, I think. The other thing which you brought up, which I thought was very interesting, you couldn't go to your restaurants. I hope by now you have installed CCTV everywhere and you don't even have to go there so that you see what's going on. That's not spying on them. That is merely making sure that everything you have invested in or set up. People laughed at me before when I had the cameras everywhere, my house, across and here, my office, but it is very useful. And of course, some meetings you can do via Zoom, others you still need to be person to person. I'm a person to person guy. I find that this whole Zoom thing is all very nice. You know, you have quick things to discuss and so on, but if you really want to do a brainstorming session, please, I want body contact. I want to look you in the eye. I want to feel, you know. You sit there with your t-shirt, how do I know you have underpants on or not, you know? But when you go to an office, you're properly dressed and you're properly attired and you go have coffee, it takes a little longer, a little shorter. I think there's good sides on both sides of the fence. Sorry, Benny, I didn't want to interrupt, but this whole thing with rentals, I hope we finally see some normality setting in, because I think some of the landlords, I want them to lose their shirts because they're just over the top, especially the big wigs.
Yeah,
Benny,
totally
also
agree.
the government, Jurong Town Council and all these guys, they have to do a lot more work.
They have to. They certainly have to pull their weight. Benny, in
Like
your case,
ridiculous.
not going to the restaurant was more a case of you wanting to be in the kitchen or wanting to see what was happening?
So I'm not an office person. I don't even have a chair in my office, you know, because I'm more.
What are you sitting on, a beer box or what?
No. I prefer to move around in my restaurant. You know, I want to be very personal with my chefs, with my staff, with my team, and want to know what is the problem that I can help to solve. That is my kind of work. You know, I'm not an office-bound person. I hate to go to my office, honestly. And during this period of time, only 5% can be registered in each of the restaurants. So during this time, not all food are deliverable. What I mean is that we during the pandemic, the lockdown itself, you know, because the kind of food I'm selling is not the kind of like when you deliver to your place and it looks the same, you know. And then if I deliver a porterhouse to your house, you know, it might be well done by the time I reach your home. So that kind of we actually lost. I do have the numbers. We during this period of time, but now it's much better. Can breathe.
Okay.
So
you see daylight.
I see daylight. I see daylight. Honestly, yes. I mean, I'm talking about important is where my my restaurant is located. That's very, very important. Like I say, if you're in the heartland, for example, Ang-Mo-Kio Hub, all this one, no problem, you know. And if you personally go down to this heartland mall, you can see every Saturday, Sunday is crowded like before. This is only phase 2. I'm still looking for phase 3 and see what's going to happen, you know. But my restaurant situated near the CBD area, that one is very, very, very highly heated, even till today.
I really wonder, because your observation and my other half's observation on phase 2, shopping centers are packed. The roads are as busy as before. So what's going to change in phase 3? Maybe that more people sit on the same table. I think that's what's missing. But in terms of crowds, we're pretty much gone back to where we before. Of course, phase 3, what everyone is looking forward, especially the hotels, events and functions. And I hope some of this is coming back, even if we have to go in with face masks, but then at least we sit around the table, we can take it off or what have you. I mean, we should never let our guard down.
Yes.
That other part of the business, like I said, events, function, banquets, weddings, etc. I think that is really what phase 3 at the end of the day will all be about. And if we are smart about it, you know, not so kiasur, not so self-centered, me, myself, and I, then hopefully we can get through this a little bit less damaged. The damage is already done.
Yes.
Okay, what was the latest news? 5 hotel companies, $21.5 billion losses around the world. Then you have the human tragedy. 1 million people died. And, you know, while we as a country have screwed up right from the beginning with our dorm workers, we acted too late, we saw it too late. I think meanwhile, we have done a pretty good job to recover from that. The other thing that we need is to open the borders between Singapore and Malaysia. Some projects are on hold because we can't get the workers yet in. There's about 100,000 people, as yesterday was mentioned, that may lose their job if they can't start crossing. So if that's what phase 3 is all about, then so be it. People going back to offices to work, that's another thing altogether. We already know some companies won't get you go back until early next year or middle next year. So if your business, restaurant business, does depend on the office crowds, I think you have to observe very carefully whether you want to keep it alive or you want to, you know, at least temporarily shut down or go with your landlord and say, all right, 6 months, this is no point. Either either or, basically, right? But the heartland business, yeah. I mean, I live presently on the West Coast and I see the trucks moving from port to port. It's like before. It's even noisier than before. You know, so there are some portions of the economy that have opened up very well. And there's some other portions of the economy that are still struggling quite a bit. So let's see what phase 3 really brings. That October 12th that you mentioned, is that really a magic number? Is that,
I thought it was
what are we
sorted out, right?
Yeah. What exactly are we allowed to do? And I'm all for it opening up as much as possible. At the same time, we should never let our guard down. I'd rather walk around with a mask for another 6 months. And I know ultimately we are a lot safer than you have some idiots, you know, Robertson Quay or Orchard Road or wherever, walk around and, you know, my hometown of Berlin, where I come from, 20,000 demonstrators. As of yesterday, red light, and not red light district there, red light. That means pandemic goes down, you know, allow. Yeah, so I consider myself very fortunate to live here, despite the inconvenience, despite all the shortcomings. We you know, Singaporeans and Germans are very much the same. We like to complain a lot. This is part of our DNA. It is just born into us. Sometimes we just have to look at the good things we have and appreciate them. That I think is very important. And right now, I miss nothing. I have my food, I have my home, my team is working like your team. So, you know, let's stop bitching and complaining, but let's appreciate what we've got. So some of your restaurants suffer a bit, but some others doing well. I know zoos that only open 1 restaurant and they had to cut down. Well, there's a lesson to be learned. Review your business profile, make sure your P&L is reworked, make sure you sign the right concept and the right deals that you're making. This is not just about making money, putting in a bank. This is about also continuity.
Yes.
People that work for you put a lot of trust in you. And I've taken a 60, 70, 80% pay cut. But I made sure that none of my team members had to take a pay cut. And where the government has stepped in and helped us, you know, the 75% or 25%, depending what business you were in, I have a responsibility towards my team. And I need to fulfill that responsibility. Then we become a decent citizen. And rather than complaining, let's do our part to help one another, to do the best we can. While my event did not take place in the same way it has in the past, this year when we did the virtual award ceremony, it was considered one of the best we ever had. We had 27,000 logins and views, and I consider this amazing. So it has helped me also to make a decision for the future. Do I need to have 600, 700, 800 people sitting in a ballroom waiting until they may not have their name called out? Not necessarily. But let's focus on a great cocktail, a great food station, on the food and the chefs. So we have learned a lot, despite the disaster that we had. And it has influenced us in a positive manner. Likewise, every restaurateur, every events organizer should learn from this. And in that respect, I do go behind the government and says, yes, you need to adapt. You need to look forward. So the future of dining, while there will be many changes in the back, in the front of the house, and I find this robot service absolutely ridiculous, that maybe works for Societe and that works for McDonald's and for KFC. What is important is people still want to be served appropriately according to which level of restaurant they're going. You go to 2, 3 Michelin star, you want to have flawless service. You go to a family restaurant, you want to have a tentative service. You go to fast food or hawker, you serve yourself. And better make sure you clean your bloody table afterwards, because we are still lacking of that. You know, so yeah, tough times. So, let's see phase 3. Let's see how we get out of it, and just hope for the best, plan for the future. But the future of dining, Kanan, that is what the theme is.
Yes. Yeah.
Changes, yes.
For sure. I
Cloud
think we cannot run away from changes.
But I think ultimately it will be positive.
I think so. Hope so. Benny, I mean, what do you guys think of the new concepts that some people are doing, like the cloud kitchens and things like that? Is that something that you might want to get into, Benny?
So far, we have not considered it, because looking at our deliveries, and I don't think our kind of food is very deliverable, you know. And then maybe actually, I have a lot of people approaching me wanted to do a cloud kitchen, which I think that, you know, maybe when you tell me during that lockdown periods, because I doesn't know what is tomorrow. Every day I go to lockdown, you know, waiting at the shopping mall, ground floor to deliver the food packages. You know, I might consider, but I don't think deliveries work well for us. I've checked with a lot of hawkers. You know, recently they have this Facebook group, which is very happening. It's called the Hawker Tapao, which help a lot of hawkers to use technology and how to do home delivery. I think hawker food is more deliverable, you know. And I've checked with my friends who are hawkers. I think their delivery are also down quite a lot. You know, maybe for new startups, I guess. I think for a big organization, will not go into the cloud kitchen thing. Maybe if you're a new startup, because maybe you want to save on the property. You know, you do not have to rent a physical restaurant, and then probably you will still catch a certain part of our population who needs delivery to their home. For me personally, I would still prefer to go into the restaurant or personally go and tap out. I don't know about you, Kanan.
We are quite happy to take things as they come, but I also, as Peter said earlier, I cook a lot at home, so that takes care of a lot of the food. But in terms of the cloud kitchen, I think there are a number of establishments coming in and setting things up. Like there's a place called Tiffin Labs being started by Kitchen, and it's going to try and set up 1,000 restaurants in Asia, such cloud kitchens in Asia. So I don't know whether it's a business model that might become an established part of the F&B scene, because there's a lot more food being taken out, being delivered. So the need for you to go to a restaurant and dine there may become less and less of a common occurrence. I'm not sure.
But from my experience, I still think that people will still want to go to a physical restaurant for their lunch or dining needs, or rather than a call for delivery from a cloud kitchen. For me, it's my opinion. People still want to go to a physical restaurant. It's a family restaurant.
I'm going to jump in here. Benny, to some extent, you're totally correct. But that has very much to do with our social infrastructure. The average size of our housing. If you look at today's size of the average HDB flats, 3, 4, 5 room, we have a saying back home, you stay at home until the roof falls on your head. It is quite naturally with the restricted living space, again, due because Singapore is not a wide country, it's a small superpower. People need to get out of the house. So I fully get it. But at the same time, you also have those that start to appreciate that option, which we had before, but really not that widely spread. Now, through the pandemic, like a lot of people learn how to do better in their delivery. We still have the whole argumentation of what does the delivery service charge? What is a fair charge? How much is for the producer left, and so on. So there's a lot of changes, adaptations going on. People do appreciate if they have quality product delivered when they don't feel like it, just simply cannot. For example, SA10 stay home notice, you have to stay home for 2 weeks, you've got no other choice. I think a lot of restaurateurs, whether it's hawkers, right up to fine dining, everything in between, have learned through this pandemic how to produce quality food that keeps well, and no tomahawks that gets well done by the time it's home, because then you did something very wrong there. It's like eating in an airline. I always condemn our famous local homegrown airline for serving crappy food because A, they undercut on the food quality, and then they serve something that's totally fat dry. You must cook what is appropriate for delivery service. A soupy dish, a chicken curry, for example, in a liquid, maybe a Chinese hot soup that you just have to take up. What you don't want to do is take a roti prata that's nice and crispy in Jalan Kayu or Sin Ming, and by the time it comes home, it's called rubber prata, You must know what is delivered. Then I went for a couple of weeks to all my restaurants during the lockdown to tap out, to pick up, to give them some support. And I could see some restaurants which reacted very fast, consolidated, put a great list of food together. One of them was this Delissé management group. They have 5 different restaurant concepts, all focused, concentrate on one place. I went down because I had a hankering for a blanquette de veau. Fantastic. It was cooked in such a way, you take it back home, you heat it up, perfect. I went to, I'm talking about the Angmo restaurants right now because I leave the local food to you, Benny. I went to the Jeremy's restaurant and I had the best croque monsieur sandwich ever. A pastrami sandwich, which, normally you only get in New York or in Montreal. Ryan Clift, of all people, did the best pastrami sandwich I had in Singapore. Local food, Niven Leong, does a chicken rice to die for. and I have to travel 3/4 around Singapore to pick it up and come home. It was fantastic. So what I'm trying to say, you find new solutions, those restaurateurs that adapted quickly, appropriately, made the right choices on food that can be either delivered and still the quality is there, or that you tap out, take home, that is of a level, you come home and the only thing you're missing, candlelight, dark, great service, but you still have the same food product. I think there we have seen a massive positive change. And I think we're going to see more of that in the future. Now, the guys that invest in 1,000 cloud kitchen, hey, listen, you remember when they did all these bicycles for rent, how many are left? So I would say there's a need for some cloud kitchens. There's always some, I remember Javed from Punjab Grill, he was once, he was supposed to do a catering. He didn't have a cloud kitchen available for him. Hotels refused to take him in because they had their own business to run. So there will be a need, there will be a market, but 1,000, I think it's a little bit stretched. So
I think 1,000 is across the region.
How many?
Across the region. 1,000 is across the region. So
yeah, no,
I suppose
like
the business sense will have to make sense at some point. There are a few questions I want to look at here. Feel free to put your questions through. We've got about 10 minutes of this session left. Patricia is asking what lessons you've learned from the pandemic. I think some of that has already been discussed. What would you do differently if another pandemic strikes? What have you learned from all this and which you will incorporate into your business system so that you're able to react quicker to an issue? May not be a pandemic, but could be some other issue. Benny, what would you bring?
During my 10 over years running restaurant, I was not much affected by the economic crisis. And then this thing, this COVID-19 is so real, caught me unprepared. So if you ask me what I have learned during this period, and in the future, I will not repeat it. I would say that number one, we really have to be thrifty in many ways. Especially now, if we do not have reserve to see us through the last couple of months, I think we would have, like many restaurants in Singapore, we will have to close down. So number one, we really have to be very thrifty. Always look at the ROI. That's the most important thing. It's not looking about more to next year how many restaurants I'm going to open. Now I'm be very careful. I want to go back to basic because I don't want to be so proud to say that I'm going to open 2 more restaurants next year, 3 more restaurants the year after. I really have to be very careful about what kind of restaurant and where is the location of my new ventures in the near future. I think that really remind me to go back to very, very basic.
So essentially, it's all about living within your means, right?
Yes.
Building it up as you go, which is a principle you would apply in normal circumstances, unless you see such a rosy future.
During our good days, we were just location-wise, we would not be just open 2, and then we would just get 2 locations and just open. So now we'll be more careful, really careful.
Benny, you just touched on a very normal human trait. It doesn't matter where we are from, which level and what have you. When things going well, we all have a tendency to become a bit boisterous, to become a little bit aggressive. And you said the right thing. And then we are, it's like a pendulum. We're going from one extreme where the economy is doing extremely well and where things are moving and we are almost lightheaded. Oh, we are so successful. We make the money and we're expanding. And then you go, oh, no, now I got to be ultra careful. I got to be far more conservative. There is this question from Alan Ho. Will you agree that the current pandemic is a reset button for the F&B industry, a consolidation of precious resources? Totally, yes, it is a reset. not just for the F&B industry. I think it's a reset for most part of humanity. And if humanity is smart enough, let's forget about F&B for a moment. Our resources, natural resources, human resources, we need to go a lot more green. We still have too much plastic all over the place. We still live from one day to the next as if there is no tomorrow. I think the pandemic has hit us hard. At the same time, I think maybe not hard enough. Singaporeans especially, for the past 20 to 30 years, had a fantastically good life. We are in a global eye of many nations. We are an outstanding community, city, and state. Maybe we had it too good for too long. And especially our young ones, school, university grads, young people, they never really suffered. And I'm talking about majority. There will always be some that do. So maybe it is time that people need to suffer to understand and most importantly, appreciate what this fantastic country has done for them. You know, I opened a hotel in China in the mid-80s. I took a couple of Singaporeans up. I tell you, they came to me and they said, man, how lucky we are in Singapore. And I think that is what people need to recognize. You can have your political opinion, you can have your personal opinion. By and large, this country has provided for almost all of its citizens. And don't talk about who more or less than this. Nobody is really starving as such. We, with World Gourmet Summit, over the 25 years, we have over $10 million of charitable contribution that we work with communities as NKF and so on. If you're successful, you also must have your social responsibility. And is it a reset button? Yes, not just for F&B. It's a reset button for people. It's a reset button for how we do things. And every human being, no matter what race, religion, or what have you, is responsible to do decisions, to make decisions that helps the community by and large. Ultimately, it comes back to them.
How would you, just as on a final note, I'm just trying to think of what would you do differently once, say, there is a vaccine found and things start returning to normal? How would you pitch it differently? What you are doing in each of your own spaces. Benny?
Okay, if you know, just now Peter has mentioned there's 100,000 of Malaysians coming. Hopefully one day the causeway will open and they will come back to Singapore and start joining the team. But I would say that recently there is a lot of clamping down on the foreign labours. A lot of my colleagues who are Malaysians and they couldn't renew their passes. So I think in the coming months it's going to be more difficult. I think this part.
If I can interject on this one,
sure.
I think is one of the biggest screw ups that we are doing right now. We go from one
yes.
extreme, having too many, to another one, closing them all off. I'm sorry, I don't agree with the government. You want Singaporeans to do the job, find the Singaporeans that want to do the job. If you can find them to me, I have only hired Singaporeans except where I had no choice. For a year, I advertised for a kitchen designer, consultants, leader ada apa-apa. So, you know, I think we don't have enough competition. I want more of these people in here. I want our local population to get the act together. Not everybody can be a CEO, can be a blue-collar worker, can make a $10, $20, $50,000 salary. This is what we are missing, back to the earth of normality. If I have a Singaporean to do the work, great. I don't want somebody to say, oh, it's too much work, oh, it's so hard. I want Saturday, Sunday off. Chef Benny, please lah, how can you make me work Saturday night? My girlfriend have birthday lah. You know, hey, hello. Go work in a factory, 9 to 5, or go to immigration department. You know, you get 13 months bonus. Ooh, this is one subject matter, Canon. I swear to God, I better don't go too public on that because I have very strong feelings. And not just because I'm a foreigner. I lived 42 years in this country. I arrived in 1978. And whenever I have a local guy that says, "Oh, go back to your home country," you know what I say? What, Ang Mo Kio or Yishun? Huh? And then they come and say, "Wow, you foreigner? 对不起，我听不懂啊，你是哪里来的人啊？你是不是新加坡人还是别的地方啊？"
I think so far during this COVID-19 periods, I think the government has helped us a lot. But I think they have they have overlooked about this employment issue that not only me, I think most of the F&B players, restaurateurs facing. This is a very, very crucial situation now we are going through. So with lesser foreign workers, I mean, I don't know how less we're going to have in the near future. I think most of the restaurants, I think they will at least have 1 or 2 Malaysians to help us in this in this
you think
industry.
you'll be looking at more Malaysian workers coming in?
I hope that the government can think more into this and really study the situation. We are not talking about
Danny, the
foreigners.
problem is the government is reacting to the local community. The local community wants to say, "Hey, foreigner, foreigner," but there's many type of foreigners. You know, when somebody asks me, I say, "You want less foreigners? Okay, first, no more maids. Second, no more NPP workers. Third, no more construction workers. Get all these out."
And no more
Let's
in the
see what happened
hospitals
to
too.
our
There are a lot of
community,
foreign
you know?
workers in the hospitals. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
you can go further and further.
it goes on
What
and
I'm
on.
saying
Yeah.
is,
So it's
it is the government reacts based on the election and the results, what have you. Less foreigners. I think we are generalizing, and it should be pointed out which level. I read and I actually saved from Calvin Chang a commentary, because a lot of locals, Singapore people, PRs, local born, bred, why are no more people on the top MNC multinational corporations, big shot posts? And he had a fantastic analysis. A lot of Singaporeans that want these jobs do not have enough international experience. And he said, and this comes from a Singaporean, not from another foreigner, and he said, "Why don't you as a Singaporean go overseas, take their job away from there? Did you know that Singapore chefs are one of the great export articles for Singapore? That the chefs that go overseas, you saw Jimmy in Taiwan, 2 Michelin stars now, so bloody proud. He's a true blue Singaporean." We are a city-state of this size. We must and need have international workforce, because we are depending and delivering to the world. We cut ourselves off, we start to restrict, then I'm sorry, we may as well take the gun and shoot ourselves in the head. So from one extreme, for letting anybody in, to another one, by cutting it all out, we must find a middle way that's acceptable to all involved. And we always have to remember, those that leave Singapore and don't come back, we also lose their spending power. So, you know, there's many aspects to it. And Canon, I'm glad you brought it up, hospitality workers. You know, we did 2 efforts before, when COVID started and after, where we sent to Tan Tock Seng and another hospital, like meals. We did charitable drive and all that. Look what's happening to the UK. They want to get rid of the Europeans. 80% have been working in the National Health Service. They don't even want to go back. Do we want to become like the UK? Sorry,
Okay.
I get emotional about this, you know. But
Okay, give me 1 minute.
Yes.
Give me 1 minute. Okay,
Sure.
In 5-6 years ago, I am very proud to say that I have never faced a labor problem in my organization, because you know about my background. I hire a lot of ex-offenders. Do you know now, ex-offenders are very difficult to get, because they have too many offers. You know, many years ago, I would still go to the prison and do what do you call that, job fair. You know, prison got job fair, not only community center, you know.
Okay.
And I went there, nobody wants to employ them. I support everybody. Now even I go into the prison and look for ex-offender to work for me, I got a lot of competition. So
Benny, I had the same with management trainees. I used to hire a lot of trainees, and suddenly, wow, no, I want to go to Citibank, I want to go to DBS, I want to go to Amazon, I want to go to the big company. Now I go to the hospitality school, everybody followed. The problem that you and I have, we started a trend. Today, we are the victim of the same trend that we started. So no choice left.
Hey, you guys, thank you. Hey, it's been a nice, lively session. We've hit the time. We still managed to bring it in just a bit over, but Peter and Benny, thanks so much for your insights, for sharing, for your honesty in all of your communications. And I sincerely hope things start picking up for Singapore, for the scene, for the world. And the food will continue to be at a top level, and Singapore's reputation still stays as a prime place for us to have a good meal and a good time.